Let's speak now to Olexiy Haran, who is in Kiev. He's a professor of comparative politics at the Kiev Mohyla University. Thank you for your time, Professor. We've heard from President Zelenskyy on Wednesday, warning that hundreds of thousands of people have no access to clean drinking water. We've had other experts saying this could be an ecological disaster. Some have likened it to Chernobyl. Is it that serious?
Yes, definitely it's serious. It's a huge catastrophe, the largest catastrophe of this kind in Europe. And you mentioned the people who need to be evacuated, you mentioned the problem with water. But look, the problem is that it will create a huge ecological damage to vast territories of Ukrainian agricultural lands. So it will mean that Ukraine will not be able to export as much agricultural production as it is doing right now. So it will exacerbate the starvation problem in the whole world. But one more thing, which is terrible, and your Russian correspondent mentioned it, actually, Zaporizhia. So, but let me clarify. So Zaporizhia nuclear power station, it receives it's cooled by the water from this dam. So now the situation is under control, but it could become very dangerous in several weeks. And here we need to put an urgent question. Look, what happened here in Kakhovka? And Ukrainian side warned about it for several months because Russians minded. But the huge tragedy may happen in Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, which is the largest in Europe. Russians not only occupied nuclear power station, it never happened in history before. Never ever nuclear power station was occupied by foreign military. Russians put their military ammunition, armory, shells, military personnel there. Ukrainian personnel, which is working in Zaporizhia nuclear power station, is under huge psychological and physical pressure from Russia. So the danger may happen at any moment. That's why what we are saying, Ukrainians, stop Putin, get out from nuclear power station.
Right.
What Russians are doing there?
Professor,
Why is
I
it
do want to
necessary
ask you about the
Yeah.
more broader implications in the region of these floods. We're hearing about contaminants that have been washed into the water, things like landmines being washed away that will end up across the country and even into the Black Sea. For the region, the other countries around the Black Sea, how concerned should they be about this flood?
Well, I'm not an ecologist. Look, I'm a political scientist, but you have already mentioned all the potential problems, and definitely it's a huge ecological catastrophe. But again, let me connect it to Zaporizhia nuclear power plant because both are connected. Again, this water was used to cool down Zaporizhia nuclear power station. If anything happens with nuclear power station, look, Chernobyl is a child compared to Zaporizhia nuclear power station. And it would have implications not only for the neighboring countries, it would have implication for the whole world. And let me say one more thing. When we are discussing who is responsible for that, we cannot put the equal responsibility on the victim of aggression, which is Ukraine, and on the aggressor. Let me use one allegory. If you have a house, half of your house is occupied by a gangster and rapist. He's bringing shells, mines, armory in this house. And then at certain point, there is a blast there. Who is responsible for that? Just think about it. If your house is occupied by the gangster, so who will be responsible for what happened in your house. So I think, again, we shouldn't forget who started the war. We should ask ourselves what Russian soldiers are doing in the center of the other country, why they are occupying such strategic and dangerous objects as power station. There's no military logic in there. The only logic is to blackmail not only Ukraine, but also the other countries and the world. So it's, we have an expression. It's like a monkey with grenade. What will it do if monkey with grenade is near you? You will try to escape it. So this is the Russian tactics, to intimidate the whole world.
Well, we will have to leave it there. We've run out of time. But Olexiy Haran, thank you very much for your input there live out of Kiev.